Crypto holders, we just got some absolutely massive updates from the Fed that I believe will have a massive impact on crypto, especially over the long term. And so I wanted to make a quick video for you all going over exactly what these announcements were and why they are so damn important for the crypto market, especially again over the mid to long term. So the first announcement that we got was that the Fed was going to be cutting interest rates by 25 basis points. Now, this is what everyone was expecting. This is not a surprise to the market whatsoever. This is about what we all figured would happen. Now, in general, this is still a good thing, right? The Fed is cutting interest rates. It means that capital is more accessible and easier to access, and that general liquidity within the United States economy should, in turn, be increasing. So, the Fed cutting interest rates and doing what we expected them to do is a good thing. Now, the interesting part, though, especially regarding interest rate cuts, is what they said about the December meeting. Because when asked about the December meeting, Jerome Powell said that many people are basically expecting that this is for sure going to happen and that in the December meeting, we are 100% going to see interest rates get cut again. And he said, you shouldn't be 100% sure because we are far from certain that we are going to cut interest rates in December. Now, this news immediately shook the market. Crypto markets started falling. Bitcoin fell down to $109,000 over the course of just 5 minutes. And the reason why the market fell almost immediately was because everyone was worried, like, why is he saying they're not going to cut interest rates anymore? Is it going to get bad? Is it going to get terrible? Like, everyone assumed that this crazy stuff was going on, when truth be told, that's not the case. Because Jerome Powell followed this up by saying about 45 minutes later that the reason they're not certain that they will cut interest rates in December is because of the uncertainty that's stemming from the government shutdown. They said as a result of the government shutdown, they're not capable of seeing what's happening in the economy. They don't have definitive data to rely on. They're really going off anecdotal assessment of what's happening here in the world and in the economy in general. And as a result of them not being able to see what is happening from a more quantitative perspective, they don't want to go in and start making a whole bunch of decisions like cutting interest rates or making changes to quantitative and, or monetary policy without actually basing it on data, right? Because the Fed has made it clear that every decision that they make is based solely on the data. And so if they don't have the data, they may not make a decision. And he actually went to say that if the shutdown continues to the point in which they don't receive the data, they might just slow down as a whole and not make any moves until they do. And so, no, Jerome Powell wasn't saying that they're not going to cut rates anymore or that it's not anything crazy. Simply, they're not going to make decisions without data. And I think that's a reasonable thing, at least in my opinion. Now, the next announcement that was made from Jerome Powell, which was also extremely, extremely important, was that they are now going to officially be ending quantitative tightening. Now, as a result of this announcement, the market freaked out. Matter of fact, on Twitter, everybody's screaming, the money printer is back on. We're about to see hundreds of billions and millions and trillions of dollars being injected into the world of crypto and the economy in general. When the truth is, this actually isn't the case. This is actually a misunderstanding that most people in crypto have about the way that quantitative tightening and quantitative easing work in the world of traditional finance. Now, the easiest way for me to explain this to you would be to give you an example of a water bottle. And I know this may sound like I'm going on a tangent, but trust me, it'll make a lot of sense if you just follow me here. So let's imagine that there's a water bottle and that water bottle is full of water and the water level in that water bottle goes up and down and up and down. Now, let's say hypothetically, the crypto market relies on that water bottle having as much water in it as possible. Or in other words, the best environment for crypto would be if that water bottle is full of water. And the worst environment in crypto would be if that water bottle had no water in it whatsoever. Okay. Now, the Fed has the ability to control how much water is in this bottle. If the Fed, for example, is kind of concerned about the economy or excited about the economy, they can either take water out of the bottle, which would in turn hurt crypto, or they can add water into the bottle, which would be very good for crypto. And by ending quantitative tightening, what they've announced is that they're going to be going in and no longer taking water out the bottle. Because what they've been doing for the last couple of years is taking water out the bottle consistently. And that's made it very difficult for the crypto market and other risk-on asset classes. And so instead of taking water out the bottle, they're just not doing anything. It doesn't mean that they're adding water into the bottle, which is really good for crypto. It just means that they're going to stop taking water out of the bottle. And that in turn is still a good thing for crypto. It's a good scenario, but not the best scenario, because the best scenario would be them adding water into this bottle. And so let me give you the way that translates to real life. So the Fed has access to two tools, quantitative easing, quantitative tightening. Quantitative easing would be making the market easier on crypto. Let's just go ahead and say it like that, making the market easier on crypto, the economy, risk on asset class. Quantitative easing translates to adding water into the bottle. The other thing that they have is quantitative tightening, which is making the economy more difficult. It's constraining the economy a little bit, which translates to them pulling water out of the bottle. So over the last 2 years, they've been in quantitative, or a few years, they've been in quantitative tightening, which is when they've been taking water out the bottle, or in other words, removing liquidity and capital from the economy. What they're going to be doing now is they're just going to stop doing that. It doesn't mean that they're going to be adding water to this bottle, or in turn, it doesn't mean they're going to be injecting liquidity into the economy. They're just going to stop taking liquidity out of it, which again is a good thing. But the misconception that so many people have is they're saying quantitative easing is here. They're going to print hundreds of billions of dollars. That's not what they're saying. They did say that that will come eventually. They did say that naturally over time, they will have to start to, of course, go into quantitative easing to stop the natural constraint that will happen here in the economy, right? So they will eventually go into QE. That will happen eventually, but no one knows how long it'll take to get there. And a massive misconception is that that is what's starting on December 1st. Because they said that on December 1st, quantitative tightening is over. That is set in stone, right? No one knows how long that's going to last, and no one knows if or when QE is going to start. Okay. And so I don't want you all to think that, oh, QE is here, QE is starting. I need to go all in. Altcoins are about to explode. No one said that. What they did say is that they're going to put crypto in a bit of a better environment. And that's a good thing. But how long does it take to get into a really good environment? Depends on many things, especially considering they're very uncertain about what their next move will be due to the government shutdown. So all in all, the news that we got today from the Fed was, in my opinion, slightly positive. I do think that it wasn't the most amazing news ever, especially knowing that there's now more uncertainty in the crypto market as a result of what's happening with the shutdown and tariffs. But I do believe that in general, it's a good thing because we do clearly know that eventually they're going to go into quantitative easing as long as things continue on this trajectory. And what we're seeing right now in the market and all of this chaos that we're seeing in the government with the government shutdown and the tariff situations, all that, it's only temporary. And once we can get past that, I believe the Fed will continue on the track it was on, continue cutting interest rates, eventually enter into QE, at which point we will be in an environment that is much more conducive for growth, especially for crypto. Okay. So this is slightly positive news. And from a macro perspective, it doesn't change much in the short term, but the mid to long term stay very bullish, which is what I've believed all up until this point anyway. Okay. So that's the news that we just got from the Fed. We're seeing a lot of misinterpretations of it, a lot of misunderstandings from it. And hopefully the water bottle example gives you a good understanding of what's actually happening, okay? So if you do think that this is a good example or explanation of how this all works, what I want you to do is go in the comment sections and type just the word water bottle and press paste, just so that I know that you watched this far into the video. And while you are on your way out, you can check out some of the links in the description, smash the like button, subscribe to the channel if you found this valuable. And as per usual, I'll be here with you all every step of the way with another video, probably sometime today or early in the morning. I'll see you all in the next one. Peace out, everybody.